Ta-da. And we're live. Welcome to the Self-Publishing Roundtable's monthly now news roundup, where we talk about indie publishing news and stuff, and some not so indie stuff too, because we've got one article in we want to talk about that's just like wow. So joining me, Erica Conroy, tonight is the lovely Krishawn Callahan. Hello,
Hello,
Krishawn.
everyone.
And wildly successful, blunt, and annoying to others, if you follow her on Facebook at least, is romance author Zoe York. Hi, Zoe.
Hello. I'm also annoying to my children, so I'm a well-rounded annoyer.
Oh, chicken butt.
Yeah.
That's our job as parents.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, well, I'm just annoying to my husband, but that just comes naturally. I don't have to work at it. So we haven't done one of these in a while, but we thought we would start off with some things that caught our attention for August. And let's see, I think we will start with... let's start with Penguin. Penguin Random House is still claiming that subscription services like Kindle Unlimited is hurting authors and isn't what readers want. So according to the Bookseller, they reported that Marcus Dole, of the global CEO of Penguin Random House, spoke at the Global Top 50 Publishing Summit at Beijing International Book Fair in China earlier this week, and he's quoted as saying PRH had not signed its titles up for any subscription services such as Amazon's Kindle Unlimited, Mofibo, or Scribd because the all-you-can-eat models threaten to devalue intellectual property at the time when most authors can barely afford to earn a living. Who wants first in? Zoe or Krishawn?
Who wants to rant more? Zoe, flip you for it.
Yeah,
Better
who's
yet.
the biggest rant?
No, I'm probably gonna surprise you and say that I agree with him.
Why?
Really?
What's this?
Explain.
Please do that.
Because I think that Kindle Unlimited can earn content creators. I will say that, and not authors. I do think that Kindle Unlimited can earn content creators or quick digital publishers money in the short term, and possibly more money in the short term than producing books that are only going to be sold, not subscribed, not borrowed as part of a subscription service. I think that in the long term, it is harmful to an author's bottom line, particularly an author that isn't a savvy digital publisher, or one that isn't writing to the subscription market. So while an argument can certainly be made that in high demand, for example, Kindle Unlimited hasn't limited romance. Scribd has, but right now if you can churn out the stuff that romance readers are reading a book a day of, and make it the thing that thousands of them want to read, you can make good money on that. But if you look at the rank of a Kindle Unlimited book 12 months out and compare it to the rank of a book that's only ever sold at $3.99 and is well marketed, 12 months out, that $3.99 book is going to be out earning by no comparison that 99-cent Kindle Unlimited book, right? So the long-term projection I think is still with the sale model, not the subscription model. And I think that who gets pinched in that war between the two is the author, because as some money moves from the sale model to the subscription model, the sale earnings do get depressed, and publishers then want to pay less for advances, and self-publishing is harder to break into. I do think that there is it has a negative impact on both sets of authors. I think that Kindle Unlimited can also hurt authors who feel like they need to churn out material, then they burn out, and then they can't produce anything, and that's not healthy for a long-term career model. So I mean, like, I wouldn't word it the same way that he would. I'm not like as like, but I'm not a fan of KU, and other than for short-term. I mean, hey, whatever people can make money on, that's good, but I'm not a fan.
What about as a reader? I mean, because he was also reported as saying that it's not what readers want.
Well, it's not what I want as a reader. I can't speak for all readers. The fact that you don't own the book, that you're just borrowing it, you read it, and then it's gone. I think that there are two groups of readers, right? There's the people who are consuming it like reality TV, like a magazine article that they read at the doctor's office. Absolutely, KU is great for those readers. But people that want to stock a library with books that they might at some point return to, KU is literally, it's $120 a year. Like, KU is not cheap, right? It's $120 a year, American, which is like 140 Canadian. And it's, I don't think it's a good value for readers either, but
okay, that's where I'm going to separate from you there. For me, a person who reads 1 or 2 books a week, I absolutely love KU. And here's why. Because it gives me, like the library, which I pay a lot of tax on. And I still go to the library. I pay a lot of taxes for my library. And I go in and I go through the stacks. And if I see someone that looks moderately interesting, just enough for me to pick up the book and read it, and I wouldn't buy it at a Barnes & Noble or pay full price for it, I can go read through the first few chapters, see if I like it, put it down. And I, like you, love building a library. I have thousands of books in my house now. But for every one that comes into my house, I've read 5 or 6 at a library and put them back or stopped reading them or what have you. I think for folks who are being introduced to new writers, KU is essential. And being able to take in and see who they like, try new genres, try new writers is really good, and then they can make the decision to buy it later on and build a library from there. I think it's absolutely wonderful. It's one of the best programs that they've put in since they started selling books and sending them to us very quickly. When it comes to the authors, the publishers, I think that's more of a problem of we really don't want to pay our writers anymore.
We want to pay them less even.
Huh? Sorry?
We want to pay them less even.
Yes, we want to pay them less. So for us to sit there and put these books in KU, especially for our newer authors who we want to build an audience for, through the same process of trying something new, that means it's going to cut into their bottom line. Their stockholders are not going to get paid as much. And never mind even paying the authors. They're going to get given pittance, and that's where we want to keep them because of cheap labor. Right? I would think that they would consider it at least for the first 3 months and then give them a longer tail through the sales model. If they were smart, they would change it to be able to do that, at least for those who they're trying to build a catalog of.
Yeah. And I mean, I do think, I don't think that that's something Amazon specific. I think that all publishers and readers have always wanted content cheap, right? That's just human nature. Right, we don't want to overpay for anything, and the writer has always gotten pinched there in that desire between quality work and economy purchasing. The writer gets pinched there because the writer's the person who's not paid a wage, right? So that's not a new problem. It's not something KU specific, but I see it, particularly in my genre, where 99-cent books, the combination of a 99-cent sale plus KU borrows is really the way that a book shoots up the charts. Like the 99-cent, and I hope that most people watching this, anybody who's interested in self-publishing, would understand that the royalty difference between a 99-cent book and a $2.99 book. You only earn 35% on a 99-cent book, and you earn 70% on a $2.99 book on Amazon. So you have to sell 6 times more at the 99-cent level to just break even, to just earn the same amount. And I think that there are some other factors which mean that you must actually sell a lot more than 6 times. Somebody who pays $2.99 for a book or $3.99 for a book is much more likely to open it and read it. And let's be honest, it is the most important thing is not selling a book. The most important thing is getting somebody to read a book and love it. And unless they start reading your book, unless they actually crack that spine, the fact that you got 35 cents out of them on that 99-cent sale is absolutely meaningless. It means absolutely nothing other than, you know.
Yeah, I absolutely do. I'm working on my 4th book, and I dropped my first 2 as part of the promos for 99 cents because I'm a new author, right?
Yeah, and I've also done the 99-cent debut. Like, I'm not trashing it. I'm just saying you don't make any money on it.
No, not at all. And I see this as a loss leader. I see this as the cost of introducing myself into the national realm, into readers' consciousness. Are the rest of my books going to be 99 cents? Nope. Yeah. Because I am in business in the end. So having that 99 cents is good for some things. It's good in the beginning. It's good as a start, just like KU is good in the beginning. It's good in the start. I do question the wisdom of using it as a business model for a writer in the long term.
I think that there are some people who do have a really successful business model in KU. Those are the people who they write with somebody else. It's like, and maybe it's a second pen name, right? So it's a KU specific pen name, so you're not pissing any readers off with that work. I mean, you are impacting on the amount of work you can produce in your wide pen name if you do have 2 pen names that way. But I mean, I don't think that that's as big a deal as some people worry about. People who are writing at that sweet spot, which is different for every writer, where it's just long enough to get a good number of page reads, but not so long that it takes you too long to write. You know, like, really, from a craft perspective, KU books are not books that you want to spend 6 months writing.
No.
No. You want to be like, I mean, one author that we've interviewed on the show who just takes KU to a whole new level is that Amanda M. Lee. Because she's, like you said earlier, Zoe, able to churn out this vast number of books. And they all go into KU, and her fans just want more. And she's perfectly willing and able to give them what they want. So that's why KU works for her.
Yes.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. There are some it works for, but those are the unicorns. Amanda Lee is a unicorn with sparkles and rainbows shooting out her ass, for real, though. Okay? She's a mythical creature of which they will laud and worship for eons to come. All right? But she is also unique.
Yeah, and I think that the outliers in any business model are not the people to look at and be like, how do I do what they did? Because chances are, like, you can try that, but you got to be mindful of the fact that chances are they did it because when they did it, it was new, right? Or how they're doing it is new. That there's always something that's unique to their approach. Copying is never the way to that same level of success.
And it's not even have to be something that's new. In Amanda Lee's case, going back to her, she can turn out the length of my novellas in a day, and she can do that consistently. That's a superpower.
Yeah, she sits down for 8 hours and writes, but that's something that she'd been doing for a day job for many years. So she's
something that
insanely disciplined.
Yeah,
it's incredible. But that is not something new, but it's something truly unique in her.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But there are other authors who might not produce quite as quickly as Amanda M. Lee does, but they've managed to build up enough of that discipline that there are, you know, in between us and the Amanda M. Lees, because you can look at Lindsay Barocca, and she's another example of releasing a new series in the first book at 99 cents as a loss leader for a limited time. I believe she did eventually raise the price to the same as the other books in the series, but she's basically releasing maybe one a month in that series.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he's not supposed to.
Yeah. And the other thing about KU is that it's all your eggs in one basket. So I had a series that for 5 books, it did really well in KU. And then it just, what happened was the payment scheme changed, and I had been writing novellas. And all of a sudden, that KU earnings dropped like a stone. And I took them out, went wide, had a nice run with them wide, and then I wasn't going to release anything in them for like 4 or 5 months because I was working on other stuff. So I put them back in Kindle Unlimited. And they did nothing. They did absolutely nothing. They had done really well, and then they didn't. So if that had been my sole plan, that would be tough to work around, you know? Or like some of these authors who release a book in KU and it does really well, kind of unexpectedly, and then they get their accounts flagged because they've had this unexpected, irregular activity in their account when all they did was what they were supposed to do. And eventually it gets sorted out if you're patient and you can have those kind of diplomatic conversations in the back end and all of that. You can document what you did, but in the meantime, your income's been decimated because all your eggs are in one basket. That's terrifying to me.
Yes.
And we've had KU 1.0 and KU 2.0 now, and I think everyone's just, because, well, they were waiting around July, which is when these things seem to happen with Amazon. They're waiting for KU 3.0 to drop, but so far nothing. I think Amazon might be
I feel like they're happy with it at the moment. Yeah.
I think they might have found something to stick with for a while, so.
It seems to be more fluid than the just $100, whatever, for 10% read. I think it's fluid. They are able to catch the schemers a little bit better. Now they're being ham-handed with it. Well, a whole lot better than they were before. They're being ham-handed, but I think that will show more nuance and finesse in time. But I think the infrastructure, I think they got right. So far, as right as you can.
And it's a bulk funded model that they're happy just to throw more money at each month in order to meet the individual page count that they'd like to achieve. So yeah, it's not quite bulk funded the way you would usually bulk fund something, but at least they're trying to be a little bit consistent there with the price.
Absolutely.
Anyone want to close up on that one? Any last words to say before we move along? Nope. Okay.
I think
Let's see, what have we got next? This one's not really news. It was more of a kind of an author reporting back on how something was done, in case people want to absorb or use or try some of the techniques. But we'll start with congratulations to Joanna Penn, who hit the USA Today bestseller list at 121 the other week with her single author 3-book boxed set. She posted all about her marketing strategy, which included reducing the price from $6.99 to 99 cents, using ad stacking with several paid sites, including BookBub, as well as BookBub's beta ad service, using Facebook ads, her mailing list, of course, and some assistance from Drafter Digital on getting some Barnes & Noble merchandising to push some sales there. Zoe, are these strategies things that you usually use, or, I mean, it seems to be...
Yeah. So... Yeah. I have never spent that much money on advertising. And when I saw that she had a loss, that really surprised me. But I totally agree with her that looking at just the sales that week and the cost that week is like over the next week, hopefully she would have, the earnings would have continued even at a declining rate. And so over, the investment in 1 week hopefully turns to a positive return on investment over weeks 2 and 3. The strategy that I have used in the past is a little bit different. I mean, the same principles in that, like, concentrated on 1 week. Instead of spending a lot of money on ads, I really focus on a pre-order to boost the numbers. But that's talking about a release. Now, I've done that with a box set. Well, a completed story, not quite a box set, but a completed story, where I got the BookBub on the set from the pre-order based on the reviews of the individual books. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And my numbers were, it's romance. My numbers were a little bit higher than hers, but like the same kind of breakdown between the retailers. Amazon is much more responsive to ads, and my experience with that, correlates to what she's saying as well, that the bulk of her sales were on Amazon more than the other retailers. I think it's really awesome. I think that I do agree with her that there are reasons to make this a marketing goal, and her newsletter subscriber numbers were huge from that 1 week. That was pretty impressive.
Can I cut in just to give context to what you were saying about the advertising? Her total paid promotional email list cost was $1,261. Her total Facebook ads were $2,131. Her BookBub extra fees, the extra ads, those little postage stamps at the bottom, was $1,573 for a total of $4,965. And she had an overall loss that week of $778. Now,
787.
Right, that's what I meant, because I'm dyslexic.
Sorry about that.
That's fine. I was looking dead at it. But going also from your point, she got 2,347 new signups to her mailing list, 111 new likes to her Facebook page, 6,231 new readers that now have her books. All right.
Yeah.
New reviews, revenues for future book sales, and the benefit of being a USA Today best-selling author in a non-romance category.
Although she already had that title from a multi-author box set. Yeah.
Right. And that's something else I want to point out. Number one, she is doing this in thriller, which is very difficult. I think Mark Dawson, I can't think of anybody else at this point who's able to do that and not writing romance. Because romance fans are awesome.
I think she said one other author, but it's a pretty, romance has really taken the lead on like Facebook readers and kind of building that buzz in a concentrated way in 1 week, for sure.
They are incredible. And also, and my brain is about to fart because I had another point here. And the importance of being a best-selling author with your name alone. Not saying that there's anything wrong with being a part of a box set. That is totally legitimate, and that's a whole lot of hard work to get there. But if you allow me, there's something to be said about being the only name on that list, or being one of 2 or 3 names on that list, right? That lends it a little bit more heft, and that's what I find so remarkable about this. Did she spend a lot of money? Yes, she did. But did she lose money? Yes. But in the end, she will have a very long tail for all of her effort and hard work.
And even though she's got that loss of $787 just because for that week. She also earned over $4,000 in that week on that book. So I don't think it's going to take her long to make up that loss, like
It's not.
in the next week. But also to add on to your excitement and enthusiasm about her doing it as a single author, one of the advantages of doing it as a multi-author is you have all of those other authors in that box to help prop you up, to help with the promotion, to help with paying for everything, to help spread the word, to help keep you sane and spread that load. But to be able to do that all on your own,
Yeah, it's hard.
that's a lot of work. I hope she had like at least one stiff drink and a holiday after that.
I hope so too, because that is being a member of a multi-box set. I'm watching people do this now, and it's so much work. And for her and her battalion of assistants to get it all done and to make it, because she tried it before. I've seen her try a few times. Some she got, some she didn't. But it was always hard work.
And
always.
Really, that try again mentality, the testing of the different ads, that is just as important a takeaway, because it means that the next time that she's ready to do a promo, she'll have that much more data and be that much smarter about what works, what doesn't, and carrying forward. I think it's incredibly generous for her to compile all of that and then publish it on her blog. It's a worthwhile read for anybody.
Yes, and we'll be sharing that on the website. So if you're interested in finding links or anything, or the links to all of the articles, we'll be putting them on our website, selfpublishingroundtable.com. So if you're listening on this on audio, you have to get online and check the website if you want to know all of the juicy little details.
What do we think about this as a viable option as marketing, as a viable marketing option? I'm sorry, my brain is just lining these words up weird. Do we think it's worth our time to have best-selling author behind our name, even as part of a box set? What do we think about that? Is that a bit of vanity? I'm putting in air quotes. You see my air quotes? Those are air quotes. Is this just a bit of vanity to have best-selling author behind our name? Or is this true? Does it still have the meaning it used to?
I don't even know what the meaning was that it used to compared to now. Is there a difference?
Back in the dark ages before the interwebs, best-selling author meant I was around it.
It meant before the book industry crashed in the 1990s, in the early 1990s, it would take 50,000 copies shipped to hit the USA Today bestseller list. 100,000 copies to hit the New York Times list. So it used to mean quantitatively, it used to mean more than it does now. Right now, most weeks to hit the New York Times best-selling list, it takes about 25,000 copies. To hit the USA Today list, 6,000 copies, the bottom of it. To hit the top 50, which means that you're in the paper, 9,000 copies.
Yes.
So,
The time is also curated, so it has to be an insanely large number to get past Snooki and all that, folks.
I don't think the New York Times list is as curated as people think it is. There have been very egregious examples of books that have been left off the New York Times list, but for the most part, it's not a curated list. Like most weeks, it's the top 15 best-selling fiction ebooks that are on that list. There were some box sets in the last couple of years that were left off of it, but there were also some box sets that people talked about. Were they left off? And really the sales were really close to the next book, and since the New York Times pulls their data in a slightly different way than the USA Today list does, sometimes you can be off and not know it. I've been and I've been in a couple of box sets, 2 box sets. that should have hit the USA Today list and didn't. And the USA Today is not a curated list.
Right.
So there's
Not at
also
all.
human error, right? So
Right.
when for example Barnes and Noble is reporting, they send, like, it's literally they send an Excel sheet over to the New York Times. When they're making that Excel sheet, all it takes is for somebody to delete a line, and book numbers don't get reported. Human error is also in this process. The reality is, though, we are selling fewer books today per title than we did in the early 90s, because there are more titles, right? So so people's book dollars are spread wider than they used to. Our book dollars are also spent differently. They're not all paperbacks, blah 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 blah. It used to be that I think that those 100,000 copies that were ordered and like reported as sold, some of them were sold into systems that wouldn't get returns on them, and so they counted as sales. Like, it was a completely different system then. But to answer Krishan's question, if it doesn't matter, I think it does matter, and I don't think it matters to readers, but I absolutely think it matters to the author themselves. And I think that is incredibly important, because there's something about being a New York Times bestselling author that makes you more professional, right? It lifts you up, and you're like, holy crap, I've got this now standard to meet, I don't know whether, I think I've shared this story on SPRT before. I hit the New York Times bestselling list with a box set the night before I was laid off.
Wow.
The next day, when I was laid off, I was like, I'm a New York Times bestselling author. I think we could probably do something with that. So it totally changed, what I did with my severance period, because I didn't need to look for a job. I knew I had a golden opportunity to try and make something of this. At the time, did it change my income? No, not at all. Did it change my status in the community? No, not at all. But it changed how I thought about myself and my work. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Just
I just wanna add something in here. This is what one of the live commenters has said. Christopher Hawkins has said, as a reader, when I see best-selling author on a cover or associated with a book in the Kindle store, I assume they had done some traditional publishing, and for better or worse, am a little impressed. So for some readers, I think it still carries a bit of weight and prestige and professionalism with it. But probably, I know me as a reader, it doesn't really sway my reading decisions if one book has this on it and the other book doesn't. I mean, I can now afford to actually buy both ebooks because I don't have to pay $30 for a frickin' paper book back anymore in New Zealand,
Right. Exactly. And what you're saying, Zoe, about hitting a list and kind of straightening up your spine a little bit, that has some merit to it, and I never thought about that because over the weekend we had the promo. SPRT had the promo, and this is maybe a plug for the promo, but not quite. But I was part of that promo, and my book was free, and it actually climbed all the way up the list for those few days and stayed on the list for a few more days, right? And when I saw it, and I didn't see where it was at the highest, I may have been number 1 for all I knew, but it made it up to number 5 on the second day. Oh, I was?
No, I'm just going to say, of course you did. I mean, you weren't awake for it, but it happened, totally.
Right, I was on the road, I didn't know. But looking at that book in ranked and looking at it above the fold, on an Amazon site, I never felt more like a writer than at that very moment.
Mm-hmm.
It was something magical, as if the fairy godmother went bing right on my head, and I was like, oh, I really am a writer. Let me set up my next pre-order. I can't imagine.
That fairy godmother charges $10 for her services, by the way.
Well worth it. Well worth it.
Oh, that thing was worth its weight in chicken McNuggets. Let me tell you. And it's Absolutely worth it. Worth it. But it did. It made me feel about. Made me feel so good about all the work I was putting in up until this moment. Right? And I put in a lot of work to get these book out and worrying about it. And the fact that it shot up, and then my read count shot up, and then my likes also shot up on my Facebook page, and the responses from the emails that are still coming back, all of that together just solidifies my place as a professional writer, and it's gasoline to move forward in this. So I'm glad you brought that up because it makes perfectly good sense. And it's kind of good for the ego too.
It's a milestone, shall we say,
Yeah.
for some authors, and it's one that I think it's really up to you if you want to try and achieve that. Because for a lot of us who aren't putting out the books like Amanda Emily is, we really have to decide to make that concentrated effort for pushing that book that week to get on to that, to achieve that milestone, basically.
Yeah. Since I've done it a couple of times, I'll say I think that the easier way to hit the USA Today list is with a long pre-order and a sale price on your pre-order, because your pre-order numbers count towards release week. And then trying to stack ads in your release week. So you get the stacked ads plus a pre-order period. And I mean, it's easier, again, on a book that people are anticipating. That being said, it's not easy at all. Like, I've done it twice on my own, and both with Ainsley Booth books, not with Zoe York books. I haven't done it on my own with the Zoe York book. And Zoe has lots of readers, you know, but I like, even my kind of premiere series, like my Pine Harbor series, release week releases are still like I call it sub list level, and getting up to that list level at what I am willing to release like a Pine Harbor novel at, it's hard. So it's definitely an achievement. And final point, I don't know about the other writing organizations, but Romance Writers of America, they recognize people that have hit the bestseller list. To be on the honor roll, to be on the RWA honor roll, you need to hit the New York Times on your own or the USA Today top 50 on your own. And I'll be honest, it's something which I'm like, oh, I haven't done that yet, you know? So it is like, it's another milestone. It's not like it doesn't occupy a lot of my marketing plans or anything like that, but I'm aware of it.
Wouldn't it be nice for a self-published author at Romance Writers of America, or even at the sci-fi versions that also have their honor roll, to achieve this great honor over your traditionally published peers? I mean,
to be fair, there are a lot of self-published authors now on the RWA honor roll.
Mm-hmm. There are. And what point in our career should we be looking at that as a goal? I'm like, how far were you in when you started thinking, I think I want to be on that list? I'm like, I'm looking at you, but I'm also looking at Jasmine Walt, who is, just under a year. And she's now New York Times.
Yeah.
Well, so the first time that I hit it was, I had been published for about 10 months. April, I published in June, and then the following April, I hit it in a box set. And that box set was gold towards hitting the lists. The New York Times list was that was a surprise. We hit it good. It was number 6. But which and we repeated that last summer. We repeated it this summer. We didn't quite hit the list. They've now shortened the list too. It used to be 20 spots. I think it used to be 25 spots. Then it was 20 spots. Now it's 15. So it's harder than it used to be. The USA Today, so as a single title, the first time that I goaled towards it was with the HF. Can I say the title of HF on?
We swear all the fucking time.
Right? So my Ainsley Booth book, Hate Fuck, was originally released as a serial, and then I decided to put it once, and it was in Kindle Unlimited for a period of time, but they were serials, right? Like short 30,000 word pieces. And so when they changed to KU, I was like, oh, F that. I need to make it a completed story so it's one book. So, people read all the way through to the end and they don't have to go find the other parts. And so that's when I had this idea to try and get a BookBub on the release of the completed story. And so that was a 99-cent release. I put it up for pre-order at $4.99. Then I asked BookBub for a BookBub ad at 99 cents, and they accepted it. So I dropped the pre-order price to 99 cents, collected a bunch of pre-orders. Then in release week, I had a BookBub ad plus a bunch of other ads. And that book hit really well. That was like 90 on the USA Today list, 89 maybe. And that was at 99 cents. And that was gold towards. I mean, the whole point of it was to get a BookBub and hopefully hit a list with it. The next time that I hit a list was with Prime Minister, which I co-wrote with Sadie Heller. And that was, honestly, we didn't think that we would hit the USA Today list. We didn't have that many pre-orders. It was not our goal. I mean, it was like a faint hope goal, but it was a faint hope, but it was not a goal. But we did do a release week price. Now, we didn't do 99 cents. We knew that if we did 99 cents, we might be able to hit the list. But we also wanted to earn money on it because it was like a 100,000-word book, and also a very good book, by the way. Everyone should read Prime Minister. And so we released it at $2.99, and we said 1 week only, $2.99, and it did really well. So then we hit decently. We hit at 130, the USA Today list. And if I were to try again, so that was Ainsley's third title, but I co-brand pretty tightly. So that was my 30th book and the 3-year mark of publishing, and that was the first time I was able to hit with a non-99-cent book. The next time that I will do that, I'll do it with a Zoe book, and I'll do that $2.99 price point again. I really like that price point. My Pine Harbor books are $4.99 regular, so it'll be Pine Harbor number 6. Spoiler alert: Pine Harbor number 6 will have a special pre-order price of $2.99, and I'll do I'll do a 8 or 9 month pre-order on iBooks. The full 90-day pre-order on Amazon, long pre-order on Kobo and Barnes & Noble, and then and then also stack ads. You can get ads for $2.99 books too, which helps. We did that for Prime Minister. So it's kind of a long, complicated. Pardon?
How long of a pre-order?
On iBooks, you can do a year. Kobo, you can do a year. At least 9 months, but I think you can do a year. Barnes & Noble, you can do a year. And then Amazon, 90 days.
Right. I knew that. I knew Amazon 90 days, but when I heard 8-month pre-order, I'm like, what?
Yeah, all the other retailers, you can do quite a long pre-order, and it really adds up. We've had the second Frisky Beavers book up on pre-order on iBooks since before book number 1 came out, and so we have a healthy number of pre-orders over there. Waiting for the release of that book number 2.
Oh, wow. Wow. Okay. That's amazing.
Oh, and the other thing about all those other retailers, you can move the dates around. So if you are wide, definitely put all your books up for pre-order because you can just change the dates, which you can't do at Amazon.
Right. Lest they ban you for a year.
It's so yeah.
Oh, should we move right along?
No, do not apologize. You are always fascinating and fun to listen to. So don't worry about that. Never worry about that. Did we have any last thoughts on hitting the bestseller list?
That it's achievable if you throw time and money and people at it, and it makes
and
it
try again. And try again. I mean, I think that Joanna Penn, she's a professional. That's the thing, right? It's that Michael Jordan quote, how many games in a year he lost and all of that. It's not failure is how we learn how to win the next time.
Yes. As many as you need to win the next time. Which is why I have a goal of hitting the list next year. Only because I don't think I have time this year. I have that goal. I want to hit New York Times next year, and I've
Okay.
also 15 new covers. It's a long story, a fascinating one, but a long story. I'm
Fair
doing
enough.
this space opera by way of Captain Skull, and it looks like kind of a superhero. My covers are very superhero, space adventure types because I can't do space opera because I don't care for Cowboy Bebop, Firefly, or what's that other one?
Wait, you don't care for Firefly? I don't know that we can be friends anymore.
I'm sorry, Zoe. I get why you love it. I absolutely do. I have tried many times, and oddly enough, I saw and paid for Serenity to see Serenity twice. I just couldn't get into the show, and I tried, but I know why you love it. So, yeah, you can talk about it all you want. I totally get it. But I just couldn't do it. I wanted to. Just
It's
couldn't get
okay.
in.
That's how I feel about Doctor Who, so I
Yeah.
get it. Yeah.
Right, and I'm a Whovian. I remember when it was black and white, right?
Oh shit, man, that was scary when it was black and white.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? But a lot of people they don't get it. You mean he changes all the time and nothing ever matters? Yeah, it's an acquired taste. Like,
Yeah.
okay.
I'm surrounded by Whovians. One of my best friends, my husband, my mother-in-law, even my 8-year-old. My 8-year-old is Doctor Who obsessed, and I'm like, no, I'm sorry, Mummy can't help you. Mummy does not belong to this fandom. Good luck.
Right. Yeah.
Good you
I'm sometimes got some of the older Who's on there. Get him back. Let him learn his legacy, and and just bless him and keep him going. Because as long as you have a fandom, you will always have brothers and sisters, right?
Yeah, it's so true.
Yeah. And so I've never been into space operas, and I get why people love them, but I've never been into those. I'm more, give me a superhero in space, which is odd because I love Star Trek, but that's another thing. So I'm doing a superhero in space, young adult, space opera-ish, more superhero-y thing that's within my Alizar universe. And that's the series that's going to be fun to write, and I'm hoping will get me on the list.
Awesome.
And we will keep you up to date as that goes on, because, yeah, there's a lot of things hooked up to that.
I love that.
Okay. Well, we've got about 9 minutes left, so I'm going to skip some of the news items and just get back to another one, which isn't. It's another traditional publishing one, but it's something to keep in mind if you go hybrid or if you have friends that are following the dark path. Anyway, so the author Seth Graham Smith, you might know his books Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, and Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. He about 6 years ago signed a contract with Hachette, and they basically it was basically, we want more of your books, just like the Abraham Lincoln books. So he produced The Last American Vampire, which was a sequel to the Abraham Lincoln book, and he was meant to hand in another book, which was along similar lines of the style and storytelling, about 3 years ago. But he managed to get some extensions, and then what he submitted was not exactly what Hachette had in mind. So Hachette decided to terminate the contract because Seth apparently breached it, and now they're taking him to court. What do you guys think about this?
I think that when someone gives you $1 million for a book, you should probably write the book that they want you to.
Right.
Kind of mind. Like, otherwise, there's a solid chance they're gonna want that money back. Like, that seems kind of fair.
It's 100% they're going to want that money back. And I also wish that Hachette had been more clear, more concise with their words when they gave their allegations, because they said, and the thing that caught my attention was that he had turned in a book that was mainly the essence of a public domain work, which is how kind of he made his living. Pride and Prejudice and Zombies was taking something public domain, changing it, which is a long and storied tradition. They've done that with Uncle Tom's Cabin. They've done that with Huck Finn. They've done that with Gone with the Wind, and now he's doing it with that. And then,
Star Trek.
Right. Yes, they have done that with Star Trek. And I see you're going to be a Russian judge when it comes to these new series. Oh, man. Um, and a quick tangent along that line. I knew some folks who just were ugly about the new Star Trek film when it came out because they said it changed the history, and yet they were solid Doctor Who fans. I'm like, how is it that you don't understand this?
Yeah. I read a really good review today of the Star Trek film. I actually really liked Beyond, but I'm totally fine with reboots. Like that is, and yet I'm not a Doctor Who fan, so that's weird. But I read a good review today from somebody who didn't like it, and it was very thoughtful and very creatively written. And his point, buried in the review, was that the people who rebooted it, he didn't think they were fans. And I thought, that's a fair criticism. That the reboot, if the reboot comes from within the fandom, then it's it's different.
Right.
And once I read that, then I was like, you know what? I think that critique has value in a way that like the other reviews I'd seen or heard, they came off kind of whiny. But actually, I thought, that sways me a little bit.
It does, and I believe that's because there's something to be said about the love and care and nuance of somebody who actually knows the original content. And if they know it, you can see that, and that is not the case with these movies. Not saying that they're not unwatchable; they're thoroughly enjoyable popcorn movies, but
they're not Star Trek.
Yeah,
they're not Star Trek. They're not Star Trek, and also you cannot make the 1960s Star Trek now because the mores and morals around the culture in 1960s is so very different. What Gene Roddenberry was trying to show was a space where all these ethnicities were together as a band fighting against a larger other, right? Which is unheard of in the 60s. Now, that the crew of the Star Trek looks like the flight crew that flew me from Phoenix to Austin, right? Yeah. What do you do now in the new millennium and not sound preachy when you're doing with that source material? What do you do? And going back, looping right back to our subject, how do you sit there and produce something when you've made your living being a fan or reading public domain work, changing it, making it your own, and delivering it? How much of that is truly your own and opposed to your original work? Especially when that's why they signed the contract with you.
No, well, I think it was... Go, Zoe.
Well, I think that when it comes to that, the answer is whether or not what you deliver is seen as, in the total of it, as a new work of art, like the fairy tales, the retelling, the politically correct fairy tales. Remember those from the 90s?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I was, those, like, again, just a few little tweaks. But when you read them, they entertained you in a whole new way, right? Mm-hmm. But then, like, you read, another attempt at that, and they're just not as good. And I think that the problem here is that, and I haven't read any of his other books, but my understanding is that they were good, entertaining, that they pleased people enough.
Apparently.
Yeah, they pleased people enough for a publisher to say, please give us more of this, and we'll give you a lot of money. And I can only assume that the publisher, being the first reader of the work, was not amused. And so, a lawsuit shouldn't be taken frivolously, so one hopes that, like you say, that there's more details than what they just said, because what he had previously done was taken public domain work, so how can you be pissed that he just gave you public domain work? Hopefully that the contract backs them up on saying just public domain work, with very few additions is not, it doesn't meet the contractual obligations.
I
And
think that they exhibit the actual contract in the
Ooh.
court documents, so we will link to that. But the complaints from Hachette were there's a few of them listed. One of them is that addresses the public domain work, is that they wanted something original like he had done with the Abraham Lincoln ones, which I don't think came from any public domain ones. And since he also submitted the sequel, which was somewhat original, they were expecting something similar for the third book that he gave them. Another complaint was that it did not fall between the word length requirement, which I think was 80,000 to 100,000 words, and that they also had agreed that he would write about a topic that the publisher had approved of, and apparently none of these things had been met, so that was what they were taking him to court about. Actually, what they were taking him to court over was that they terminated the contract. They went into the process of terminating the contract and said, we would like that amount of the advance back for that one book, which they're claiming is $500,000 including interest from the time it was paid. And they said no. The author and the author's business said no. So that's what they're taking them to court over, is that $500,000. But what I thought might have been more interesting in the court documents was they might have included the manuscript, which they have not. Right. So us, as the general public, we have no idea if actually he met or did not meet these claims as they've stated in the court documents. So I think that would be interesting to see if he, if he didn't meet the requirements, I think he's in the wrong. But if he did, there's no way we really will know, right? Because it's not an exhibit. Well, at least it's not shown as an exhibit at the moment.
Yeah, not yet. Maybe it will be entered at some point if the court proceeding goes ahead.
So it'll be an interesting one to follow, at least. I wonder. I'm now really curious as to what he did hand in and how much of it was the public domain and how much of it was, his work. I mean, they just could have inserted Justin Bieber or something in there, and we'd be none the wiser. Sorry, Zoe.
Does she not like Justin Bieber?
Oh, no. Someone plagiarized her book and replaced the main character with Justin Bieber on Wattpad, so, yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Sore spot.
Yeah, turning my big alpha male hero into Justin Bieber, it was traumatizing, to say the least.
Well,
anyway, Sean, what were you going to say?
I was going to say that at the very least, if they were concerned that we are eventually going to want to publish this book, they could have given us statistics on the manuscript, which are also not in there. They did not give us an actual book length. They did not analyze and see what the percentage was compared to what they had requested in the contract. They didn't give a lot of details about the manuscript itself, and there's no way for us to actually determine that. And I think that would have been, the contract would have been Exhibit 1, and the manuscript should have been Exhibit 2, in my view. They're trying to actually show their intent and prove their case. But I'm also, like Erica, very interested in seeing what this manuscript would really look like.
I got my beats on Justin Bieber, or he's taken another Austen book and made it guy on or something. That in my mind, just changing the she's to a he. I mean, that's the very minimal amount of change to an originally public domain. I mean, that's kind of what I'm expecting, the way that Hachette have worded this, that it's that tiny little change,
Yes.
Anything we want to say about any of those 3 articles before we go off air, because we've reached our hour?
No, I think I'm good. Um,
Okay, so basically we've agreed that we need more information on the court case
yes.
and before a decision can be made. Penguin might have a little point about undervaluing of books, and of course we all agree
Well,
that they don't pay authors enough.
I was going to
Um,
say, because it's not like they pay their authors enough either, so them going to bat for authors is a little ironic, but anyway.
Yeah,
And this is
and it might be a good thing to try for one of the lists if you think you have the money and the time and hopefully the support to do so. And also Star Trek and movies are not Star Trek anymore. Glad we can all agree. Okay. If you want further information about us and about this episode and other episodes that we've aired, go to selfpublishingroundtable.com. We also are taking submissions for a multi-author cross-promotion opportunity at the moment for romance authors. And we've got a pretty little banner on our website that you can click on for more information. And hopefully Zoe will be joining in again this month. Will you, Zoe? Will you?
I
She's nodding.
will, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
That's a yes.
I
So
just need to fill out the form.
Yeah, and pay the money. But you'll also get access. You'll get access to Zoe York's mailing list indirectly, of course. But yeah.
Yes.
that's a draw.
You can join and hear good things from me.
Yeah. Okay. So, Krishawn, where can people find you on the internet? Just quickly.
They can find me at alazar.com, ALLAZAR.com, Alazar Universe on Facebook, facebook.com/Alazar Universe, and on Instagram. And if you Google me in the YouTubes, you'll find my channel there as well.
Awesome. And Zoe, where can people find you and Ainsley? Ooh.
ZoeYork.com and Ainsley.com. Zoe has a new release coming in September, and Ainsley has one coming in October. So lots of romance reads coming up. And also thevikingadventures.com, because I'm taking my family on a vacation to Iceland, and my 8-year-old has decided that he wants to be a YouTube travel blogger. Oh, God.
They need sponsorship now.
I know. Sponsored by Zoe York at the moment, but open to other...
Well, it can't be sponsored by Ainsley Booth. I mean, that's something you can't put on a children's YouTube channel.
I know. Anyway, but yeah, we're gonna like be Instagramming and YouTubing from Iceland at the end of September.
Awesome. I hope that goes really great for you guys. And well, I mean, you got the aurora borealis and everything up there, man.
Yeah, volcanoes and waterfalls, and a 75% chance of rain every single day. What could go wrong?
And mist. You got to look out for that. You might miss those volcanoes and waterfalls. I've had several friends and family members who have been to Iceland, so.
Yeah, all the mist you can handle.
Yeah.
It's like
you can find me on erica.conroy.com, but since I haven't written or published much this year, I haven't updated my website either. So just go to the selfpublishingroundtable.com instead. It's much better. Okay. Good night, Internet.
Good night.